I want to thank you, Jose, for what you've said, the fact that all lives matter. And I want to tell everyone this is just the start of a conversation. The people that we have today are beginning the initial process here. And I want to thank FOMAA for acting so quickly to get voices within our community to figure out how we mobilize to move forward in this special moment of crisis. I want to introduce our panel and everyone that we have. This panel right now, the next 15, 20 minutes, we're going to be looking at how do we map out social change. And we have some pretty impressive politicians joining us now. I want to introduce New York Senator Kevin Thomas, who was elected in 2018. He's actually the first Indian American to serve in the New York Senate. We're also joined by New Jersey Senator Vin Gopal, who represents the legislative district of Monmouth County, and he joins us as well. Kevin, I want to start with you, if I might. When you look at legislation, a state as important as New York, what are you hearing within your legislature that will be done to address this situation?
So thank you for that question. There are a number of policy proposals that we have. Number one, repealing 50A, which is giving access to the public of disciplinary records, which is not accessible right now. We are also thinking about passing legislation called the STAT Act, which collects data on low-level offenses and deaths. We're going to be banning chokeholds. Police officers will be banned from using this tactic on a person. And we are also thinking about something called an independent prosecutor, giving the Attorney General's office more power to oversee more or less what's going on in this state when it comes to police misconduct. We're also looking at 9/11 false reporting, which allows a private right of action against a person who made a false report based off of a protected characteristic. So these are just the number of bills out there right now. There is more to come, but I will be up in Albany tomorrow on these bills, and it's most likely going to pass.
State Senator Kevin Thomas. Kevin, when you look at New York State, such an important state, what do you believe? There's a lot of movement talking about defunding police departments. Do you believe that's the way to go?
That's a great question. Let me step back first and talk about policing in America, especially in New York right now. I want to start off by saying every day police confront danger for us, so we don't have to. We should appreciate and respect that. That being said, the problems that we're encountering here is this massive expansion in the scope of policing over the last 40 years. This is the only job in society that uses physical force to get things done. Policing is now happening in our schools. We don't need to use physical force on our students. It's happening in relation to the problems of homelessness. We do not need to use physical force to remove homeless people. Instead, we need to give them housing. We're using the police to treat mental illness, youth violence, and the list goes on. Policing has become more intensive, more invasive, and more aggressive. All right. So when we talk about defunding the police, it should address police basically doing less about social problems. They should be addressing fewer social problems and putting those problems in the hands of people who are actually more equipped to deal with them. What does that mean? It means to stop playing austerity politics and funding social programs. I think once we start funding our social programs, we can then slowly reduce the number of police that we need. We're obviously always going to need police to protect us from danger, but we are putting too much on them when it comes to societal problems that they have no experience dealing with.
Kevin, when we talk about, this panel is called, you're looking at trying to make social changes, mapping out social change within our community. How do we, as a South Asian community, use our voice to help heal the divides in this moment?
All right. First of all, we got to look back at where we are right now as South Asians. We wouldn't have the job that we have right now. We wouldn't be able to send our kids to school where they go to school right now. We wouldn't be able to own the homes that we own right now, the neighborhoods that we live in, if it wasn't for the civil rights movement. African Americans have done so much for the South Asian community just by doing what they have done before we even got here. So we owe it to them to stand up for them. We owe it to them to basically march. We owe it to them to make things right, because they were there for us. They fought for us even before we got here. So we owe it to them to stand up for them and to fight the good fight for justice.
Kevin, that's such a great point, Kevin. We often don't think about it, and I say this all the time. Much of our immigration story, South Asians, Malayalis in particular, just Indians in general, large immigration pattern was largely in the 70s, long after the 60s, where African Americans faced an incredible road to get to make the sacrifices and the liberties that we enjoy today. And then I want to ask you, what could we do to be really true allies to the African American community in America?
I would say we need the right people in office, so vote. Register to vote. Make sure on election day you go out there and you vote. Because there are elected officials who do not see the way we see things, who always want to make sure that the little guy is always oppressed. And we need the right type of elected officials out there. Leadership calls for empathy. All right, we need to know what our brothers and sisters in the African American community are going through. We as immigrants have felt just a percentage of what they have gone through. We are one of the most successful minority groups in this country. We must not forget that, and we should help our brothers and sisters in the African American community by any means possible. Marching, we should have a national day of protest. South Asians for Black lives. Malayalis for Black lives. We should do more.
That every protest matters, and the fact that we're all raising our voices to help. I want to thank all of you, New York Senator Kevin Thomas, New Jersey Senator Vin Gopal, and also Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, who unfortunately had to drop out. There's still so much work to be done, but the fact that we are just starting this dialogue is so hugely important. I want to thank you all for your leadership and also for your time today to get this dialogue started.